Welcome to Politically Connected, a section called Comments Fupi Fupi, where we comment on current affairs happening. We're in the month of August, a very important month in the history of Kenya. You know why? Because 14 years ago, Kenyans promulgated a new constitution, one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. And we're in the month of August where this constitution marks 14 years. Yani, it's a happy birthday to the 2010 constitution. So, tuko na maswali kidogo for you, but even before I get to you, let me ask Chaka here. What are your thoughts in terms of the 14 years of the 2010 constitution? Where are we? Should we amend? Should we protect?
I want to say two things. One is what may be a controversial opinion. I don't think we give Uhuru Kenyatta enough credit for overseeing, after he came into office in 2013, the transition to a completely new and different system of governance. And because it's not just changing central government, it's establishing all these institutions, and you're overseeing the setting up of 47 governments, county governments, and the challenge here is to ensure that the country remains united. I don't think we're giving enough credit, but let's leave that there for now. Now, my second view is I think what may be interesting, what we were discussing earlier, that sometimes you actually need the darkness helps you appreciate the light.
That's true.
A lot better. And as much as we say that this constitution is progressive, it's an excellent instrument. A lot of Kenyans, especially Gen Z, millennials, who are the majority, may not appreciate what was there before and what was at stake and why it meant so much for us to get this new constitution. So maybe, to make it interesting, let's reflect,
where we came from.
Where we came from. You talked about this constitution being amended, do we keep it? And we know the threshold for changing it right now is so high, it's not easy. But maybe let's run through some of the changes that happened under the previous constitution, the Independence Constitution.
This is the 1963 constitution.
And allow me just to say something. The Independence Constitution, like some of our laws and regulations, was not written in Kenya. Moving on swiftly. Now,
bookmark that for another episode.
So, let's look at some of the amendments to the Constitution under President Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
What's interesting is under that constitution we had Majimboism, regionalism.
Which was I think by Jaramogi Odinga who subscribed to that idea.
There was Kadu and Kanu.
Yes.
And part of the debate were some of the smaller ethnic communities were anxious that they would be dominated by the bigger tribes. So regionalism was a way to save.
Yani the gamer.
Well, the most popular tribes, but it was a way of safeguarding their interests in the regions. Because if you have regional authorities, that was one of the features. But as soon as this new constitution kicks in, from the very first and second amendment, they already start clawing back power and deconstructing Majimboism. The fourth amendment again goes into further expansion of presidential powers. Fifth amendment, executive control of parliament. Ring a bell. And
It
Sixth
kinda seems like
Amendment.
it's 2024.
Sixth Amendment, expanding the emergency powers of the president. Seventh Amendment, abolishing the Senate. Many people might not know
That
that
we had a
had a
Senate.
Senate,
Yeah.
at independence. In fact, fun fact, the father of Eugene Wamalwa was a senator.
Oh,
Yeah.
during Jomo Kenyatta's time.
Yes. Then you had changes in election laws, the death of regionalism, and you also have, well, they were not all bad. You had setting up of the Court of Appeal and the like, but those were some of the most interesting amendments under President Jomo Kenyatta, 16 in total.
Yeah.
Take us through the ones under Moi.
Hey, and under Moi. Moi is what most of us millennials can remember. And in Moi, during Moi's tenure, here are some, not all, some of the amendments that are key. The 18th Amendment was eligibility for election. The 19th Amendment was creation of the one-party state.
KANU ni mama na baba.
KANU will rule for 100 years.
Arguably, it's still in power.
Yeah. We could see also the 22nd Amendment, removal of security of tenure of constitution office holders. What does that mean?
It means that constitutional office holders cannot exercise their professional opinion and give their views on things professionally without the threat of being sacked and losing their job. Because
so
security of tenure means that
if you've been appointed for 5 years,
yeah,
then you have that 5
come
years.
hell or high water, this is my view on things, even if I disagree with the president.
Is this why we saw Moi just firing and hiring?
Yes, including
anyone?
the Chief Justice and the judges.
And the Attorney General.
Yes, and under the Attorney General, you also had the Office of Director of Public Prosecutors. It was one office. Yeah.
Wow. And then that now brings us to the one that most of us remember due to the Saba Saba protest, which is Amendment number 27, return to multi-party politics.
Yes, repeal of section ile sehemu ya katiba ya 2A.
Mimi nauliza nyinyi leo, ili tuone hawa walio katika siasa, wale walio watumishi wa serikali, sisi tuseme kwamba tufungue, tuondoe ile section ya katiba ya Kenya ya 2A.
We really need to do an episode on Moi because when you look into the politics of Moi, you can learn so much. Yes. There are so many things that we can contrast with what Kenya is going through right now and our head of state, who Chaka and I called him Index 001.
Oh, yeah, student of Moi.
Yeah.
Alikuwa boarding school ya Moi.
Yeah, and now we have the 2010 Constitution that has the Bill of Rights, that has a preamble that says that this Constitution is for the people, by the people, and we have the most important part, which is Article 1 of the Constitution.
Yes.
You know, in the previous Constitution, if I'm not wrong, sovereignty was to Parliament. Was it Parliament or all powers was to the Parliament or the President? Yeah,
sovereignty was to... the Parliament was sovereign.
Oh, yes.
Because we borrowed this from the UK, who are colonial masters. Yeah. But what also happened was, because of all these amendments, really, it was like the president was sovereign. He was ruling like the queen, in a sense, yeah? But even in the UK, Parliament is sovereign. So all these amendments were clawing power back to the center. It was an imperial presidency, so to speak. So that's why Article 1 is so important, because all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya.
And shall be?
Mandatory.
Mandatory.
Yeah, either exercised directly or indirectly through elected leaders. but the people remain sovereign.
Yeah.
And that's why that scene on 25th of June, it keeps playing in my mind when the crowd, Kenyans were advancing towards Parliament. It was something, I don't want to sound like something that Ruto once said. It was something like from a movie. You're seeing Kenyans advancing and police and I think GSU shoot in the end towards the crowd as well, and people go down and then stand up and keep advancing. You'd think they were trained in, in military, and they would shoot again, go down, get up, and advance.
Yeah.
Such a powerful moment.
Indeed, and I think even the drafters of the Constitution had not envisioned what it means for citizens to invoke their power directly, their sovereignty directly.
Yeah.
And 25th of June was basically that. It was us, the people, exercising their sovereignty directly.
And part of the problem we have now is, as much as we have this very progressive document with these principles and ideals, we still have vestiges of the old culture. So we have a new constitution to an extent in name only, but the old culture is still, permeating everywhere. That's why you see, if we were highlighting the amendment about increasing the powers of the presidency in relation to parliament. Now we are supposed to have separation of powers where the legislator is independent. Everybody knows that the person who's really running the show there is the executive. So in that sense, it's a constitutional principle in name only, separation of powers.
That's true.
But the culture is still emblematic of what was there before.
And now 14 years on, where are we with the Constitution? Or maybe even before making it such a on a negative perspective. For me, in the 14 years, what the 2010 Constitution brought me, and one thing that I keep going back and reading, is the Bill of Rights. Without the Bill of Rights, I don't know, maybe it was in the other constitution, but
it didn't feature as prominently.
It didn't feature as prominently as it is in this current 2010 constitution. And also just chapter 6, that exposing that the values that we've agreed as Kenyans, that this is how we shall conduct business.
And the thing about that old constitution, it was like an act of parliament, really. The difference with this constitution is that we have gifted it to ourselves. And I remember something that senior senator, governor now, James Agri Orengo, said during the presidential petition in making his submissions. He said, I am an optimist. And we have actually made a lot of progress. And he was comparing how it was doing presidential petitions in the old regime versus the new one. And this is on your point of not being overly negative. We have made tremendous progress as a country.
Absolutely.
But all the more reason why we should guard it jealously, because it would be very sad to, go backwards.
So, over to you. Tell us, in the 14 years of the 2010 Constitution, what freedoms has it afforded you? And why is it important, or maybe not, to you to continue to guard this Constitution? Because one thing that I learned in this last protest, because, we had to read the Constitution as we were going to the protest to know our rights, is that it is also our responsibility as citizens to protect the Constitution.
Yes.
We cannot leave it to the political class to not only implement it and also protect it. It is our duty.
Yeah, it's a contract between us as Kenyans. And I think maybe in the comments, we invite you to comment what your favorite article of the Constitution is and why.
So join us next time on Comments Fupi Fupi.